welcome. My name's Kevin, and this is the Bible Artist Podcast. And I'd like to thank Sarah J. Bartholomew for joining me today as our guest. You probably know her best for her role as Claudia, the wife of Pontius Pilate in The Chosen. And that's what we'll mainly be discussing today. But Sarah is also a dancer, a choreographer, vocalist, voiceover artist, I think I saw. So Sarah, before we dig into your role in The Chosen, I always love to begin by hearing what drew you into the world of acting, or in your case, more generally, kind of the performing arts, and what you enjoy about what you do.
It's a sweet question. Yeah, I've been kind of immersed in this world for as long as I have memories. I started dancing when I was 2, which I know kind of everyone does, but I just didn't stop. And yeah, so a lot of my training and the beginning of my performing arts world was very dance heavy, very musical theater heavy. Yeah, and then I kind of was in a lot of rigorous dance training growing up, and then throughout high school and college and all of that. My degrees in musical theater, and then I got so I couldn't dance for a year-ish, and that just kind of completely shape-shifted my whole perspective on the performing arts. Yeah, it just created a whole new relationship to my body, to dance, to acting, even because acting is of the body, and so it kind of became a medicinal healing modality in my life, and a spiritual practice. So that really shaped how I teach now, and then also just kind of how I approach it. And yeah, I think that I don't really know, just because you're going back to your question of what kind of drew me to it. It just kind of is and was and always has been a part of my life. The relationship to it is constantly shifting and changing, and how I relate to it is always shifting and changing, but it's just kind of how I move through the world with everything. It's kind of like a constant part of my life. And I have to remind myself to keep it there also, just for me, as just an outlet, not just work all the time and not just teaching, just also just for me, have dance parties by myself, So because it can be all of it, but yeah, so that's kind of the short version.
Yeah, no, that's really I've got a couple young daughters, and so my older daughter she started into dance, and she's very into acting and things like that. So I could see how, if you start young, it just is kind of a part of who you are from an early age, and there's not a inciting incident or something. It's just just been with you. So that's really cool to hear, and just that it's kind of grown up with you over time and played a part of your journey. So that's really neat.
Yeah, it's special. I'm excited for your daughter to have that in her life, because I think it's something that even if you don't end up doing it for work, I think it's a beautiful way to just process being a human, even if you're not performing, but just allowing yourself to, again, process being alive through.
Yeah, for me, my kind of outlet in that case, or in that similar vein, is writing. And so, I can kind of relate through from that perspective. And like you said, kind of balancing the stuff that you're doing as work, or as that you have kind of ambitions for, versus the stuff that you're doing kind of for your own personal expression or your own personal outlet. So that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and I don't know if you relate to this, but it can get hard when it is your job and your constant way of supporting yourself. It can be hard to remind yourself to do it for just the love of it. I mean, it's always for the love of it, but sometimes we have to remind ourselves to do it in the moments between too, just to re-nourish and replenish. Yeah,
and not just to focus on those bits of it that are useful for your career.
Yeah, go be bad at something. That's something I say to myself, and even when I'm teaching, I'm be bad right now. Don't worry about, because we need that, especially when it is our work and everything. It's just don't worry about it being good. We need that space to just make a mess of art.
Yeah, and that ultimately in the long run also helps you develop, but sometimes you need to not be focused as much on the long term and just enjoying it. Yeah,
totally. Yeah. Absolutely.
Well, yeah. So, as far as so it sounds like the performing arts and musical theater and dance were kind kind of primary early on, but then you kind of got also involved in acting and stuff like that. I'm curious, like, how did you get connected to The Chosen? Like, was it just you kind of heard about an audition, or did you know people that were involved? Like, how did that kind of enter into your awareness?
Yeah, so I started working in film once I graduated college and moved back to LA. I started working in film then, because primarily before that it had all been theater. And then just through weird turns of events, I started splitting my time between LA and Austin, and had gotten an agent out in Austin. And the film industry is fluctuating all the time, but especially in Austin, like it's just kind of a wave. It was actually in the middle of the pandemic, and literally had COVID when I did the audition. And I did on a self-tape, and I actually auditioned for a different character. I don't remember which character it was now, but I auditioned for a different character, completely did the wrong accent. I dressed not for like a I feel like I did my research and I did the things to like know what was going on, but I think I mean, I don't know, maybe because the character I was auditioning for, I was in the right pocket, but now I look back, like that was not, I don't know if that was the right choice. Anyway, it got me somewhere.
Yeah.
I made that choice. Yeah. So, and it was through my Austin agent, who I am so grateful for and appreciative of. They've really nudged me in ways that have allowed myself to grow and expand and trust myself even more. Yeah, it was kind of a very, as I feel like the most, like, it's not, I don't even know, like the most exciting things I got, like they kind of just happen unexpectedly. You're just like, oh, okay, I guess I'm here now, I guess. And so just threw an audition, and that was it. And they were like, okay, you're Claudia. And I was like, who's that? I don't even remember doing this. Like, what are you talking about? Yeah. And then, season 3, season 4, and now we're in the middle of season 5. It's been really fun to sink my teeth into this, and watch this character expand and grow. And she's pretty cool.
Yeah. No, I've really, like you said, like the character, it's felt like she's grown in season 3. Like we just kind of got a little tease of her, and then season 4, I feel like we got like a little more depth into kind of her perspective and personality, and so it's been really, and I'm excited to see season 5 as well, how we continue to see her role. So I'm curious, were you like aware of The Chosen before like audition for the role? Like, had you watched any of the show before participating, or was it like something new that you kind of discovered through like becoming a part of the show?
I had heard of it because in Austin, it is a smaller film community. And so, we kind of know of all the things that are shooting here, or in Texas at all. So I'd heard of it. Also, my friend had auditioned for a couple characters. So I remember helping her with certain things, with certain, auditions for it. So I'd heard of it, but I hadn't. And I remember when I helped her with an audition, we like went and saw Dallas's like video that he put out, and just learning about the world of The Chosen. So I'd seen that. But no, I didn't. When I had my audition, I went and watched a couple of episodes, but before that, I didn't.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. But again, I had heard about it through the grapevine because of just the Texas and Austin film community is a sweet little.
Oh, that's cool though. Yeah, just that you kind of got to discover the show as you were entering into it and stuff. So that's really neat. Yeah. So as far as like the role and the show, like what have you found interesting about it, or like, what kind of going in, what got you excited for Claudia and for The Chosen?
Yeah, I feel like Claudia is such a strong, like she's, I don't even know what other word to say. There's so many, like she's so layered and complex, but like she's so strong in a time where I feel like it's really hard for her to show her strength, and I really value that, not just from the character, but also the writing. I just find that to be really empowering, but but also allowing her to be like uninhibited again, all the ways that she can be during that time as a woman. I always kind of I like the phrase I describe Claudia as is like a silent rebel. And I just feel it's been really, she's taught me a lot about myself, and I've kind of like expanded and grown with her over the years. And so it's been cool to just watch. And also, because there's the one line written about her, right? That was then redacted. And so being able to dive into historical reading and being able to study a character that way, actually, I think it may have been the first time that I've had a character where I'm like able to go and like find books specifically just written about them, even though there's not that much written about Claudia compared to other characters. But that was also really exciting to just be like, okay, doesn't mean that, it's going to be written like this for The Chosen, because again, a lot of it's, a big question mark about her anyway. But it was still really fun to just kind of dive into it that way and be like, wow, here's literally a whole book. Her. I'm going to learn about her life right now. So that was really fun. And then really being able to go into the spaces between the lines with her, and something that you named before of kind of being able to enter into this world as like very new. Like I didn't know a lot about The Chosen before that. And there was something actually really nice about that, because, also for the character, she's just hearing little things. She's kind of trying to piece a story together and figure out, and so there was something kind of really meta about that, or like a really beautiful mirror of like, okay, what is going on, and what is her intuition telling her, and what's actually happening, and all these things. So it was kind of, a beautiful mirror and like thing. Hi, Cat. Love. What's his name or her name?
His name's Batman. Yeah.
Oh, Batman. Gary, you can tell I'm talking to an animal. Gary's my dog. And like, who are you talking to? Yeah, so that was really special. The show itself is like it's a really magical team to be a part of, to work with. And I got to meet Andrew Pontius, who's like one of my closest friends now. Yeah, it's just a really beautiful, special family. Yeah, you feel very held and supported, which is really, really nice. And always
I've heard that from a few actors, just that there's a real sense of like collaboration and respect and generosity on the set.
And that's something to really, I feel very grateful for that.
Circling back, so you mentioned that you like actually got a chance to like read through a book on Claudia. Was that like a history book, or like another kind of fictional take on the character? I'm kind of curious.
A fictional take on the character. There's an app called Kobo, and there were like two. It's kind of glitching right now, but anyway, that's where I found the books to read them. At the time, I couldn't find like a hard copy, maybe immediately, or maybe it was going to take too long to get to me. So I was like, I'll just read it on here. So that's what I read. That's what I read. And it's not, again, like what's written in there isn't all lined up, it's not lined up in the exact same way, but it was still really nice to also just know, again, to see how maybe a woman would be written during that time, and like what her possible trajectory was, like getting to Pontius. And so it just allowed me to, open up her world and not base it only, what the show had been showing me up until that point. So yeah, cool.
That's really cool. I could see how it helps you kind of imaginatively enter into space, that world, and even if the specific details of the world are different, like it gives you a broader sense of like what it would have been like to be like a aristocratic woman, and like some of the challenges there. And
and what I mean, in the specific book that I read, she had gone through a lot of different, a lot of big transitions, which I mean, like anyone does in their life, but she had gone through a lot of big transitions with her family and just figuring out kind of where she belonged. So that just felt very important for, what, I feel like I can't,
No, I get what you're saying. No, it gives you something to start with, especially with like a character, you know, we don't get like as much like backstory within the scope of the show itself. So getting little things like that, I'm sure, are really helpful. I'm curious,
Yeah.
did you happen to look at like any previous film kind of adaptation of the Gospels where Claudia shows up, or?
Growing up, I watched Passion of the Christ, and I went to Catholic school, so I'm sure I saw other ones, but I didn't want to get too influenced by
Yeah.
other actors. I had thought about it, and I was like I'm almost, and I'm like, no, I'm just gonna be here with what I read and what, you know, the amazing writers write for this adaptation of it too. Because, you know, I also knew, and also as we've seen, even, you know, how even Pontius is portrayed and The Chosen is very different than other adaptations. So I wanted to also honor that newness of it. I can be very influenced by other choices, and I didn't want to be. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Like, I get how like reading a book, it's a little bit different. It's more about kind of taking in that world, whereas like watching a film, you'd be taking in like the actual portrayal and like the mannerisms. And like you said, like I feel like film portrayals of Pontius Pilate and his wife, I feel like the Chosen has gone in a pretty different direction compared to those. And so I could see how it'd be helpful to kind of avoid some of those film portrayals that might kind of pull you kind of just accidentally or by gravity, like in a different direction, and just focus on kind of the script in front of you. So that makes a lot of
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah. And I mean, you know, the writing is so gorgeous that it's just, you're full, like you are full, like you are nourished as an actor with like how it's written, that, yeah, you like, you can just take it and embody it and you're there. So yeah, I wanted to be very much there in the writing, and not get confused.
Yeah, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So like you brought up, you know, Pontius Pilate. Obviously, probably most viewers are going to think of Claudia's character in relationship to him, because that's, especially in the biblical sources, that's the only context that she's mentioned in. So I'm curious, kind of how would you characterize kind of the relational dynamic that you and Andrew James Allen were going for in the way that you're trying to portray their marriage?
I don't know if Andrew will say, well, no, which makes sense too, that we would have also, even as our characters, like different perspectives of the marriage, right? And in my like prep for it, I had the support from an acting coach in a really special way to really dive into that relational dynamic. Okay, so I think that right now, the progression of the relationship is like kind of watching someone who you are wanting to lean on, or you feel like you can lean on, or that you want to be able to lean on, kind of their the way that you leaned on them continues to kind of erode, and that like trust and reliability, and I think respect, you know, down to, it's like, I want to say that word, but then I'm also like, but she does. It's a very, you know, it's complex, it's layered experience, but I think it's when you kind of, you know, a relationship starts off as one thing, because I do, and this was in the book that I read, but I kind of kept that like when they did meet, you know, it's like an arranged marriage. When they did meet, it didn't feel so forced, even though it was arranged. You know, it didn't feel so forced. It did feel loving and caring. But I think when Pontius got given this pressure, you know, it took him in a direction that I think almost made him, you know, it continued to be, he continues to feel less and less recognizable for Claudia. Yeah. Specifically just speaking of like the relational dynamic, you know, and I think that that can be hard to watch when you have somebody that's like such a pillar of support or trust in your life, and to watch them kind of shift because of all of these external things. And it's like, where did you go? At least that's my own personal interpretation, or way of feeling just between the two of them. Obviously there's so much more surrounding things happening with them. I think it's really, at the end of the day, like, there's a lot of emotions with it, but like a deep sadness within her of like of that dynamic within that dynamic.
Yeah, that's really helpful as I'm like thinking back on the scenes that we've gotten so far, and I'm sure there'll be more to come, but I definitely get this sense of like there is kind of this intimacy in the back, like a trust that has been there, like they're able to talk to each other in a way that you don't get the sense that he's always kind of been distant and aloof and completely unconcerned about her, but at the same time there's this kind of him starting to make bad decisions or make decisions that are under pressure, and you can see her starting to feel uneasy, starting to worry and be concerned. So that makes a lot of sense, and that kind of adds insight as I'm looking back on the episode. So yeah, thank you. I really appreciate that.
Thank you. It allows me to understand her more when people ask questions.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and it's so cool how even a character with just a handful of scenes so far, that there is kind of all this nuance there, and so much that you're bringing to kind of your understanding of her relationship with Pilate, and so I really appreciate the thought that you clearly put into the performance and the kind of the relationship that you're trying to portray there. I also really enjoyed kind of the relationship between Claudia and Joanna that we got to see in season 4. I thought that was actually in episode 8. That was like one of my favorite moments, was seeing them kind of have heart-to-heart talk and kind of share more deeply with each other. I'm curious, kind of, what do you feel like kind of brought those two women together in the way that they came together in episode 8 of season 4?
I love that scene so much. That's like one of my favorite scenes I've ever been a part of. Like, it's so special. I think their desire and their intuition and their also instinct of just knowing there's more, and hope. I think hope was a big thing, and just wanting more. I think there's something, and this could be with anyone, I don't know, but I think with women being stuck, I don't know, I like there's just something that you can just like sense it. Or if somebody has gone through something traumatic or difficult, like in a similar way than you, like within like 30 seconds of talking, you're like, oh, like I know what I'm, and I feel like they kind of have that. I don't think you ever see us kind of lock eyes at the Roman dinner, but I feel like it's that kind of energy of like, I know we both know, and are not in the same way are we feeling, but similarly, so I think there was just kind of this understanding between the two of them, that they were both feeling that kind of like undercurrent within themselves, and then recognizing that in each other, and it just kind of felt like a safe place for them to both open up in that way. And I mean, Claudia very much saw what Joanna was dealing with there, and I mean, that's like also pretty brave to just kind of say that to her too. I thought, like, you don't always know if somebody wants to hear the truth of what's happening in front of them, so it just kind of the boldness to just be like, hey, I see you, I see the struggle that you're dealing with right now, and like, I'm here for you and with you, to kind of validate that. But I think a big part of it is just like two really strong, intuitive women just recognizing that within the other and saying, hey, what do we do? Or like, let's talk about these big feelings that we're feeling deep down in our gut, and how do we move from here? I don't think either of them have been able to really talk about it with anybody else. So yeah,
that's really, I definitely got that sense that you were saying, like just that they had this moment where they saw something that each other saw, and they could tell that they could tell that they had that kind of that bond together. like I said, I just thought it was a really like powerful moment. Yeah, and like you said, it kind of speaks to Claudia's her courage, her boldness. I think earlier you're describing her as kind of a quiet rebel. She knows that like she can't, at least like in a really abrupt way, like disrupt that whole dinner thing where happening, but she is able to kind of speak up in that more quiet moment with a lot of courage. So yeah, I think a lot of people will probably appreciate that about her character.
Yeah, she knows how to, for lack of a better word, like work the system in a way, and in like a very smart way, not to necessarily do any harm, but just to be able to stand up for herself in the ways that she knows that she can in, how the system is entrenched right now,
Yeah. I also liked during that scene, I think Claudia expresses to Joanna, how she admires the devotion and the belief of the Jewish pilgrims. I'm curious, in your head, like, what is it? Why do you think she is impressed so much by kind of that faith or that belief that she sees? What makes that so appealing to her?
I think it's just like the complete, like the fascination with, oh man, I just had so many answers run through my head. Okay, where do I start? I mean, I think the freedom that we kind of touched on before, I think that there is that it's interesting when we were doing the gallery photo shoot last year, and photographer Misty, she asked like, what would it mean for Claudia to like get, if that was a possibility, like what would that mean to Claudia? And like my freedom, like that was like my first, and she was like, what? Like getting out of, wealth and abundance and all of that, and like going to follow like with that, like how is that freedom to be in a space without all of that abundance? Like how is that freedom? And I think it's like the freedom to choose. I think the freedom that just like hit when I said that, the freedom to choose, like to have your own choice and your own voice and to follow what you want. I think it's that. And again, like the quiet rebel, like her watching all of these other people that regardless of who, somebody disagreeing with them or it causing all of this chaos, they're still choosing what's true to them. I think that she very much admires that, and that is like truly at her core who she is. But she's been born into this system, and so it's maybe not as easily accessible to fully know, to even fully know if that's what she, like where does she want to go with it? But I think she very much sees their freedom to choose, or they have given themselves the freedom to choose rather than living in the confines of what somebody else tells you to live in. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's deep.
Yeah.
Yeah. I also get the sense that like she sits kind of in this inner circle and she sees all these things happening behind the scenes, all of the kind of power politics and the scheming and all kind of the cynicism of kind of this upper world. And I wonder if she looks out and kind of the sincerity or the like genuineness that she sees, that people who actually believe in something higher than just like their own power or their own status and improvement.
Yeah. And like the kindness comes with that too, not just thinking about, like you said, the status or self or like how you look or your ego. It's like they are there to like in community with each other, supporting each other in a way that, I don't think the people she's surrounded by really like think about. Yeah. And then just like you said, that complete devotion and belief of just like, no, this is how I'm, and this higher power and is how I'm living my life and the way of life for me right now. And, I just think there is even just a fascination truly that she's witnessing in them. And I think she's wanting, or at least dipping her toe in the curiosity of wanting to know what that feels like, to just like surrender into that belief and not even have a question about it.
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Especially given like kind of within the chosen, like she's already kind of having these disturbing dreams. Yeah. And it's not totally clear, at least to me in season 4, like how how much she's like putting together, like if she understands that the person that she's dreaming about is Jesus, or she just kind of has these dreams that are troubling, but she doesn't see the connection between what she's dreaming about and all this stuff that she's hearing discussed. But regardless, I imagine like having that experience, yeah, just makes you wonder about, yeah, different things, and makes you realize that simply kind of being in this place of privilege and power and status isn't everything, or can't protect you from everything.
Yeah, and I'll keep some of that for me, but I definitely, she knows like something is speaking to her, you know. I want to keep. I don't want to go into the full landscape in my brain surrounding the dreams, but there is a right. It's like something else is coming in and talking to her. She's witnessing more than just what she has, right? In multiple realms of existence.
That's really cool. So I know you probably can't give away details about season 5, but I assume at the very least, like, your character is going to be present. We'll get more of her relationship with Pontius Pilate. Maybe we'll get some more of her with Joanna as well. I hope so. I really like their friendship. So is there anything, as far as like, as much as you can share, what you're excited for about kind of the upcoming seasons, even if it's not like a character detail, even if it's more just kind of generally about the upcoming seasons, what you're excited for?
Yeah, I'm excited. I mean, I'm very excited for, how shooting just went was like really, really special. Again, the writers are just it's just, yeah, it's so good. It's so juicy. It's so exciting to be a part of something that has so much to dig into and sink your teeth into. And again, just like, how they're showing, Pontius in a different way. I feel like a lot of characters are like that with The Chosen, where they're kind of pushing boundaries and not doing it the same way that it's always been done. And I think that's something that's really exciting constantly about the show, and like especially this season, to just kind of see where certain characters are going to go. It's, and just, we're building to that tension. So the tension is building, and the final episode of season 4, we really felt that. So just kind of ride that wave with everyone, I think is really exciting. And personally, just to continue to work with this team is exciting and something to really just look forward to.
Are you still in filming right now, or is your part kind of already filmed and done for season 5?
I'm done with season 5. Yeah, I'm personally done with season 5. Finished it like 3 weeks ago. Yeah. It was a great time. It's a great time. Yeah.
That's awesome. And I don't know. Do you have any other kind of projects you're working on, whether it's in the film space or some of your other stuff that you work on? Anything else that you want to share about?
I had another release this year, or a couple releases, but like one of the really exciting ones was a film called Mind, Body, Spirit, and not like the Chosen. Well, I don't know. You can find. I'm like, you can find maybe similarities in the characters a little bit if you really wanted to, but not really. It's a yoga.
Like, oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
It looked like I did see it when I was looking, kind of doing a little background research. Like, is it kind of found footage, like thriller, horror kind of?
Yeah, it's a yoga horror film, basically. So, but it's found footage. Yeah. So if you're not into horror, might not be your thing, but it's more suspenseful.
It is my thing, so yeah.
Okay, great. It's more suspenseful, but yeah, I just did a podcast interview for that yesterday, so I was like warmed up for this one, but got to see like the directors and writers like on that Zoom call, and it just reignited my love for that team so much. So it was another really special project. And
if people want to watch that, like, where do you know? Like, is it on a streaming service or?
Yeah, it's on Apple TV, it's on Amazon, it's on Vudu. And I think YouTube TV, whatever. I've never done YouTube TV. I don't know, but apparently it's there. And apparently there is a Blu-ray coming out of it soon, which will be cool. But yeah, it's a yoga horror found footage influencer film, and it gets a little kooky and wild.
That's cool. Like I imagine you probably got to bring kind of some of your background, working in dance, like being very aware of your body and movement and stuff like that, into that film. So
yeah, that film allowed me to use like every ounce of my training and like my life pretty much. I got to use every part of my like existence as a human in that film. It was very exhausting and nourishing and rewarding. Yeah,
that's cool. I'll try to find it and check it out. That totally sounds. Yeah. I've got like 2 alleys. One of them is biblical adaptations, and the other one is like horror thrillers. So
I love that. I love that. Yeah. It's a 75-minute feature film, so it's not like taking you through the trenches. It snaps. It really snaps. So yeah, the editing really keeps you engaged. Yeah.
Cool. Sorry, I kind of interrupted your flow. Were you going to share anything else, or is that kind of?
I think that's like the other main thing that's like happening right now. Some indie shorts and stuff like that are circulating right now. But yeah, other than just next to acting, I like to say next to, because it's not like cleverable or anything. Yeah, I teach somatic voice work, and I teach a dance class out here in Austin every weekend that are just big passions of mine. And that's like experiencing expressive arts in like a medicinal, more like healing, just fun, free way. And yeah, it's built a really beautiful, special community. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, thank you so much, Sarah. Yeah, I really enjoyed our conversation. I feel like you gave me like some real food for thought, and just to kind of mull over as I watch through the scenes with your character again. And yeah, I'm looking forward to kind of seeing where things continue based on some of the stuff that you shared. So I really appreciate it. Yeah. And I'm sure, with a lot of viewers, like I just appreciate the work that you've put into your character. I thought it's been really good. So
thank you for having me. The questions generated a lot of reflection within myself and the character also, so that's really special too. So, and I'll carry those things that I found today with me into Claudia growing. So thank you.
And thanks everybody for listening to the Bible Artist Podcast. Godspeed.